Hello guys, today we continue from where we stopped on hypothesis. In our previous class we looked at hypothesis testing, and we said that a hypothesis testing is a statistical procedure or method used for making decision about a population parameter using a sample data. Today we'll be looking at steps of hypothesis testing and also the type 1 and type 2 error. Now there are 7 steps in carrying out a hypothesis testing. For instance, in an example, if a phone battery production company claims that the mean rate of their battery is 20 hours. That is, they claim that when their battery is fully charged, it lasts for 20 hours before it offs. And as a statistician, you are called to help and analyze the data to know if there is enough evidence to support their claim or not. So there are 7 different steps to perform that analysis. Number 1, we have what? You first of all state your hypothesis. So the first step in carrying out that experiment is what? In carrying out that analysis is to state your hypothesis, the null and alternative hypothesis. Now, it claims that the mean rate of their battery is 20 hours. That is, our H naught mu is equal to what? 20 hours, and H1, the mu is not equal to what? 20. So the first step is to what? To state your hypothesis, the null and alternative hypothesis. This is the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis. The number 2 step is to choose the level of significance. What did I say? The level of significance. So first of all, choose your level of significance. The level of significance, the default we have 0.5, which is or 5%. This is the default level of significance. Number 3 step is to what? The number 3 step is to choose the appropriate test statistic. What did I say? Choose. Number 2 is to choose the level of significance. Represented as alpha, and its default, and it is usually 0.05 or 5%. The number 2 step is to choose the level of significance represented as alpha, and it is usually 0.05 or 5%. So the number 2 steps in carrying out a hypothesis testing is to choose appropriate test statistic. You choose what? The appropriate test statistic. Whether you are going to use z-test or you're going to use t-test, or you are going to use chi-square test, or you're going to use f-test. So choosing the appropriate test statistic is number 3, and it is very important for you to know the appropriate test statistics to use. So in our next class, we'll be teaching how to select or how to know when to use z-test, or to use t-test, or to use f-test, or to use chi-square test. So the number 3 steps in carrying out hypothesis testing is to choose the appropriate test statistics. Number 4 step the number 4 step is to collect a sample data from the population. So the number 4 step is to what? To collect a sample data from the population. And for instance, in our example, for you to determine if the claim that a manufacturing phone battery company made is valid or not, you first of all select, out of the total battery they produce, you select some samples to use to carry out your analysis. So number 5 is to determine the critical region. The number 5 step in carrying out hypothesis testing is to determine the critical region. In our next class, we'll be explaining what critical region actually is. Okay, so that will move us to what? Number 6 steps, which is what? To what? Number 6 is what? To take the decision rule. The decision rule. So the number 6 is to what? To determine the decision rule, or to define the decision rule, when to reject and when to accept. That is very important. Okay, if you are able to define the decision rule correctly, you will be able to what? To avoid type 1 or type 2 errors. So the last step is to what? To draw your conclusion. To draw your conclusion. Based on your final observation that you have. Okay, these are the 7 steps involved in hypothesis testing. So the next we'll be looking at type 1 and type 2 errors in statistics, particularly in hypothesis testing. You know, since in hypothesis testing, we used only sample data. We use only sample data out of the total population to make a decision. There is every possibility of making an incorrect decision, and those incorrect decisions are called type 1 and type 2 error. Okay, type 1 and type 2 error. We have type 1 and type 2 error. Type 1 error occurs when we reject the null hypothesis, that is H0, when we reject H0, when actually it is what? True and should be accepted. What did I say? We commit type 1 error. We commit type 1 error when we reject the null hypothesis, when actually it is what? True and should be accepted. For example, if you have our H0 to be mu equals to 20 and our H1 at mu not equal to what? 20. After our analysis and we accepted this H0, which says that there is no difference in the population, while this one states that there is a difference. Okay. Now, if after the analysis and we are rejected this H0, which says that there is no actual difference in the data or in the claim, and accepted this one, we have committed a type 1 error. So type 1 error is committed when we reject the null hypothesis, when it is what? True and should be accepted. Now that will lead us to what? Type 2 error. Type 2 error. In statistics or in hypothesis testing, type 2 error is committed when we accept the null hypothesis, when it is false and should be rejected. What did I say? Type 2 error is committed when we accept this null hypothesis, when it is false and should be rejected. That is when we commit type 2 error. Okay? So in our next class, we'll be looking at how to determine our critical region, the level of significance, and we will perform some calculations on hypothesis testing. Okay, if this class or this lesson, if you find it helpful, you can easily subscribe to our channel for more updates. Thank you.